I'm sure we all have seen this video by now. This guy consistently took pictures for years and then at the end assembled it all into a very cool montage to look at. And ever since I saw this video, I always wanted to make an app that would make the process of making a video like this very easy. So I built Momentum as my submission for Revenue Catch-Shipathon 2025. It didn't win anything, but I got an excuse to build an app and I got to learn a lot of things. Also got to make a little bit of money out of it. So building the video maker was the hardest part to figure out. There was this library called FFmpeg which I used to make a proof of concept of the video maker. But then I saw that the repository was archived and there was a blog by the maintainer saying the reasons why he archived his project. So it was basically becoming too big of a project and he had some licensing issues and it was difficult to maintain all of those things. So he decided to not maintain it any further. The only option that people using this library had was to compile FFmpeg by themselves for their own use cases. I tried to do that, but it was very complicated and I managed to compile a FFmpeg binary for the app, but I could not create a video using that because every time I tried to use it, I would get some obscure codec error that I did not understand. So I gave up on it. I pretty much abandoned this project. But then, while I was talking to a chatbot about ideas on how to make a video from a list of images, the chatbot gave me a suggestion to use this API. So Media Codec is a low-level Android API that allows you to do media tasks using the device's own media codecs. So I won't have to face any codec errors while doing any video operations. This was perfect for my use case, but when I tried to use it, this turned out to be way more complicated than I thought it would be. It was basically a very old Java library, and since I am a die-hard Kotlin fanboy, this was like a year ago, so it was just not fun to work with this library. Fortunately, one of my friends in Discord sent me the link to this library. This is a proof of concept library plus a sample app for my use case, that is building a video out of a list of images. And I tried this library and it was working perfectly. So I basically copied all of the video making portions of the library into my own code base and made some little changes here and there to fine tune it for my use case. In the end, I got a very clean API which I can configure with just this montage config state. And as you can see here, there are so many configuration options that I added to the API. With all of my edits and changes, I decided to make a separate module out of it so that all of the changes will be contained in the same place and I can swap it out later with something else if I wanted to. And this was the result, this montage maker implementation class, which implements this montage maker interface, which I declared separately in a core module. The core database of the app was simple. I just needed three tables and relationships between them to define everything that I needed for the app. This project entity table was for defining a project, and day entity table was for defining the individual days along with the location of the images. And then I later introduced this montage options entity to save the montage options that the user sets for different projects separately. For storing the photos, I was using the photo picker API at first with this persistable URI permission. So basically this persistable URI permission asks the Android file system for a permission to use a particular image or media, and it will require the usage of this media for future tasks also. This was a ticking time bomb because this permission had a hard limit to it. At first, during testing, I noticed some odd behavior, and then in an obscure GitHub issue, I found out that this persistable URI permission is only granted a max number of 512 times to any app. So my app couldn't store more than 512 images using this permission. This was really bad. So I quickly dropped this approach and switched to separate class to manage and store all of those images into the files directory of the app. This was way better than my earlier approach, and I really tossed a bomb there. Thankfully, this was within 512 days. Then there was the problem of detecting faces from an image. At first, I knew what I had to use MLKit's face detection API. This API was really easy to use, but this is a closed source API, so I don't know what I am using. All of the code is unreadable, and I had a really hard time debugging issues. Also, I noticed that the face detection wasn't that accurate. The bounding boxes that it drew around the faces, they were not consistent across many images. And this being a closed source repository meant that I could not publish my app on open source app stores like F-Droid and Easy Android. So I decided to switch to this similar library by Google called MediaPipe. MediaPipe is more like a harness to run ML tasks in many platforms. Think of it like Cloud Code, but for ML tasks. And this was really, really accurate. And it was open source too, so I knew exactly what was going wrong, and I could publish my app on free and open source app stores. With this library, I made a separate module to implement this face detector interface, which has the functions to just detect a face from an image. I give this function get face data from URI, the URI of the image that I want to detect faces from, and it will return me this face data class. And yeah, if all of the values are -1, then there is no valid fish in the image. One weird thing I noticed with this library is that no matter what I did, this library tried to send telemetry data to their Google servers using this Google Data Transport library. And in the logcat, I saw many logs that it was trying to send some log data about the usage of MediaPipe in my device to some Google server. And if by any chance it failed to send the data, it would schedule a task to try and send it later. This was really interesting to me. I don't understand why they need telemetry data so aggressively from users, but I tried to remove it using ProGuard or declaring it or excluding it in build scripts, but both of those approaches caused random crashes and issues in the app. So I decided to just remove the network permission from my app in the open source version. So even though it is trying to send telemetry data, it cannot really send telemetry data because the app does not have the internet permission. In the video making process, at first I tried to run the face detection task and the video assembling task at the same time during montage creation, but that took a lot of time because both of those tasks were very resource intensive. I decided to extract the face data from the image the moment the user selects the image to save. That way, all of the face detection tasks run during the image selection itself, and it reduced the times to create montages by a lot. Then there was this problem of editing the image and then assembling the image into a montage. Both of those were separate tasks. One required editing the bitmap in a canvas, and the other required the usage of the montage maker API that I showed you earlier. Basically, the approach that I settled on was a flow-based approach. So one by one, I am editing the images according to user's configuration, and then I am putting those images into the video montage maker API after it is being edited, after editing is done. That way, I can just have one loading progress bar for the video maker. This is the approach that I have settled on for now. If I find a better approach which would be faster, then I will change it to that later. This project taught me a lot about how video making actually works, some details about images, and how to make an app that interacts with low-level Android APIs a lot, how to structure a project into modules, and how to use CI/CD pipelines to your advantage. Like, I don't need to build this app on my machine at all. I have CI/CD pipelines for everything. Momentum is currently available on F-Droid, EasyOndroid, and Play Store. Turns out the guy from the montage before, he is a Flutter developer and he has made his own app for making montages out of images. This is called Age Labs, and and I have used this app. This is a really cool app, but it has one issue, that is the size. The Age Labs Android APK is around 300 megabytes, which is huge for an Android app. Like, normal Android apps, if they exceed 30 megabytes, then it is considered to be a problem. But this app is around 300 megabytes. Momentum is around 20 megabytes. So I think that this can be optimized somehow, but I don't know much about Flutter. It can be that Flutter apps are expected to be this big. So yeah, thanks for listening.